Hello everyone, my name is Janice Ban and I actually graduated from Cal State Long Beach in 2010. It honestly does feel like my time from my freshman year of college and until now was just a blink of an eye. Some of you guys can't wait until you get out of college and face the real world, and others of you will probably have the desire to continue school. We listen to personal testimonies, but sometimes we don't want God himself to speak to us. You may be thinking to yourself, what if God tells me something I don't want to do? Do I have to obey? Am I horrible if I choose not to listen? Well, I'm here today and have the privilege in standing before you to share you a part of my story, and I hope that this will help you answer some of your questions. I never really thought I was an ambitious person growing up, but as time passed by, living with my older brother and being raised by a single mom made me realize I had to work hard for what I wanted in life. I was definitely not the brightest kid in class, and my brother, well, he had the natural gift of being really smart. I felt as though I was never really good enough even though I put my efforts in, but knowing that I worked hard for my grades and always having a higher GPA than my brother made up for it. My brother might have a higher IQ than me, but he was definitely lazier than me as well. We grew up under the same roof, but at the same time, we were raised very differently. He is the firstborn and the only son, and as you know, Korean culture, he definitely had more perks than me. When I turned 15 and a half, I got a work permit and started my first retail job as a sales girl. I worked my way up and became a store manager within a year and a half. I was so proud, but I never felt as though I was good enough for my mom. I knew she loved me, but something was still missing. By my senior year of high school, I was still going to school full-time, and I also started to work full-time. My brother wasn't working. My mom paid for his college tuition. He's 2 years older than me, and he went to Cal Poly. But I had to keep working for what I wanted to do. When college acceptance letters came around, I was excited and looked forward to attending. One of my best friends and I were so excited to go to the same school with the same major of business econ, and we were making so many plans that were ahead of us. Little did I know, my dreams of going to UCLA were killed because my mom said we couldn't afford it. By this time, I had already registered for classes, but I had to drop them because since we couldn't afford it, I had to pay a late fee and attend Cal State Long Beach. I felt bitterness towards my mom, but I just kept my mouth shut and just silently obeyed. When my freshman year came around, I was a full-time worker, full-time student, and it took a ton of prereqs for my major that I was ultimately going to change. By junior year, I had changed from an interior design major to a fashion merchandising major with a double concentration on textiles. I had to start over because I was told not to take any GE classes because of the AP credits I had, but in the end, none of my pre-design classes counted towards any of my credits towards my major. But it only took me 3 more years to start over in a new double major and actually graduate. Junior year of college is when my true story starts. I was taking 24 units of classes, going to both Cal State Long Beach and a community college since you're only allowed 18 units max. Working 40+ hours at a retail store and being on Tepidan for KCCC all my last 3 years of college. Tough? I was used to being a busy bee, but somehow with God's grace, I handled it all. The summer of my junior year, my mission team and I were pioneering a university in Changsha, China. But that is when it started to seem like everything was going downhill. My mom was disabled for a long time and had a weird hip and leg problem on the left side, but by the time I left for missions, she was not able to walk. When we were in the middle of missions, I became very sick during the H1N1 virus, and because of that scare and due to the fact that I couldn't get quarantined, I stayed in the hotel room for 3 days immobile with a 103-degree fever. By the time I was able to sit up, I had a weird gut feeling inside me and that something was wrong at home, so I decided to check my email. The worst thought that I actually had in my mind was that my mom was paralyzed waist down, and I wish that had been the case. My mom was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and it had already spread to 7 different places. My mom fought hard for a year and a half, and it was incredible to see how powerful the mind can be. It reminds me of what Henry Ford said. Whatever you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. The mind, more than anything else, determines how far you can go on any path. I know most people would not consider this, but the next following summer, even though my mom was still battling her cancer, and actually her cancer spread even more, I felt like God was still calling me to go to a mission trip. So I was set to go to Mongolia. But as soon as I got to Career Conference and finished Beggars Retreat, my mom actually got worse, so I had to fly back and not be able to go to the mission field. My mom's life dream was to see me and my brother graduate college because she had to drop out of CSUN when she was pregnant with my brother. She was able to see me and my brother graduate that summer of 2010. I walked in May and my brother walked in June. And you could see it in her that as soon as we did, her dream was fulfilled. She still fought, but I saw the difference in her. The thing was, I never prayed for my mom to be fully healed because regardless, I thought she would be in pain from the stress of this world. My prayer for her was to be completely pain-free, no matter what that meant, especially because from the beginning of the 7 places that she had cancer was bone cancer, and that is the most painfulest type of disease anyone can have. When my mom passed away in October 2010, I knew that God accepted her through many other testimonies that I don't really have time to explain, but I knew that this was God calling me, that it was a process of going from being broken bread and to becoming like poured out wine. I knew that I needed him to nourish me, to teach me, and to feed me. I continued to work also 70 plus hours after I graduated as a trade show coordinator and a pre-production manager at a manufacturing company, and also doing part-time staff at my campus. But even with this busyness, I still felt like something was missing. I could not understand why I was doing all these things for God, and I still felt a void. So that's when I decided to go to missions again with KCCC, even though I already graduated. Keep in mind, this was my 6th mission trip with this ministry, but I really felt like God was calling me. I went to Sapporo, Japan, and long story short, our team was able to meet the chancellor of the university. And if you don't know, most Japanese universities are quote-unquote Christian universities, and knowing why we were there, he actually offered us an English professor position if we had our master's degree. Why did I think that? Oh, sorry, totally skipped it. So knowing that I felt like something was missing, I really thought that this was God's calling for my life. Why did I think that? Well, when we got back from missions, I was given the opportunity to get into the English TESOL program by the department chair after the graduate applications were due. And he said I didn't need any recommendation letters nor having to take the GREs that were actually required. But then that is also when God started to close the doors. And I think that was the only time I ever complained to God for being so confused. Fast forwarding, I decided to quit my manufacturing job even though they gave me a month off to go to missions, and started to really question what God was calling me to do. Through my college years, he was always reminding me of the story of the woman and the alabaster jar, and how she broke it at his feet. He wanted me to continue to give him everything that was highly precious in my life. I thought I was so sure he was calling me back out to the mission field, but he closed all the doors for me when I thought they were open. I then started to pray more and more, and actually another opportunity came. YG, or Pastor Young, and actually a few church members introduced me to a company called Transamerica, and I was interested in financial consulting because it's something I had to face when my mom passed away. The company is all about helping families not get left behind financially, and it really interested me because my family was left behind. Although I really liked financial consulting, I actually missed the fashion industry, so that's actually when I started to do work at both places. And I didn't want to let financial consulting go, so basically I became an accessories buyer during the day from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. and did financial consulting at 7 p.m. until whenever my appointments finished, and including the weekends. Again, I became very busy. I know some of you guys have already heard this from whomever, or actually Pastor YG just said it, and from Vision Conference, but what I want to share with you guys is that last year of May 2012, I was diagnosed with stage 3 or grade 3 brain cancer and have been battling it since. I'm telling you all of this, my decisions with school, all the years of work experiences I had, going to missions, and all the things I've experienced with my mom, because I really hope you don't look back on your own experiences, but look to God. I thought because of having to go through battling cancer with my mom, it helped me battle mine, but it really wasn't that. I figured out that your mind is the greatest gift that God has given you, and it ought to be devoted entirely to Him. 2 Corinthians 10:5 says, "Bring every thought into captivity to the obedience of Christ." The only true measure of success is the ratio between what we might have been and what we might have become. Success is a result of growing into our potential. Our potential is God's gift to us, and what we do with it is our gift to Him. With God, we have nearly limitless potential, yet too few ever try to reach it. Why? Together, I realized we can do anything, but I realized also that I alone cannot do everything. Many people let others around them decide their agenda in life, and as a result, they never dedicate themselves to their purpose in life. Some of you know YG and his wife, Chiang Gansanim. They actually both came to the day of my recent major surgery to pray, encourage, and pour out God's love on me, and I was so blessed by their leadership. John Maxwell once said, "The true measure of leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less." I know God has called me to influence others because the many testimonies of what I have gone through my entire life, having to battle with this brain cancer, and I know that God is definitely in control of all of it. I should have been on my deathbed a long time ago, but God continues to reveal that He is in control. My last surgery was less than 2 months ago, and the tumor is the size of an orange, touching my 2 speech areas and my motor skills. It's basically on the dominant part of my brain. It was actually supposed to take me 3 months to a year for me to recover because, according to the doctors, I had to relearn how to talk, how to walk, and be coordinated. But God is revealing so much about Himself through my experiences and in so many different ways that I cannot be more blessed. As I stand here as a living testimony of how awesome our God is, I really hope that you listen to God's voice and only His voice, because He's the only one that has a purpose for your life, no one else. Just like this ministry's theme verse of Matthew 28:18-20, and I'm sure you guys heard this many times, and just like when I was in school, I didn't really take it to heart, but I encourage you to really have it instilled in your heart, like I do. It says, "And Jesus came and said to them, 'All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe that I have commanded you. And behold, I am with you always to the end of age.'" Just like the Bible describes King David's life, it shows how he reflected God's own heart. And that's exactly what I want to do, and I believe I am called for. It's to reflect God's own heart. I'm going to influence and really change this world, and I really hope that you'll join me one step at a time. I really hope that whatever season God is putting you through now, God is a God who loves, who gives hope, who listens, and always answers. My prayers to you is that I hope you can find peace and joy in the journey that He is putting you through, and I hope that you will go through it with me as a family and sister in Christ. Thank you.